Delmarva Today with Don Rush.
The Francis Scott Key Bridge collapses after it was hit by a cargo vessel this week. We'll have an interview with a reporter on the scene. A Maryland appeals court rejects dismissal of charges in the hit-and-run that led to the death of 14-year-old Gavin Knupp. The Maryland General Assembly struggles with a $63 billion budget. In Salisbury, University signs an agreement with NASA that is expected to expand learning opportunities at the Wallops Flight Facility. And we talk with photographer Benjamin Dimmitt, who has a pictorial look at a dying wetlands. Welcome to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush. We now turn to Susan Canfor, reporter for Coastal Point. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Don.
So a Maryland State Appellate Court has reversed a dismissal of charges against the Berlin man in the fatal hit-and-run of Gavin Knupp in July of 2022. Apparently, there were some 17 charges that were filed against him in connection with the death. What do we know about this?
Yes, it looks like Tyler Mallow, the 23-year-old Berlin man accused of hitting 14-year-old Gavin Knupp, then driving away in the summer of 2022, could stand trial after all. Charges had been dismissed, but on Wednesday this week, a Maryland appeals court reinstated the case. And that, of course, pleased Worcester County State's Attorney Kristen Heiser, who said she is grateful for the opinion of the appellate court and fully intending to prosecute all 17 charges against Mallow, including hit and run on July 11th, 2022. There was some confusion after the accident, but later there were police reports that Mallow fled, then hid the car he was driving, a Mercedes-Benz, in a garage. Last year, the case was dismissed after a Worcester County Circuit Court judge said the state's attorney filed the charges in circuit court instead of district court. But an appeal followed, and the Knupp family lawyer, Neil Dubovsky, said he was immensely gratified with this week's opinion, and he said the family is closer to justice. In March 2023, just last year at this time, we reported here that no arrests had been made. Shortly after the 14-year-old's death, his mother, Tiffany Knupp, started an initiative asking local businesses to put up signs that said, "Do it for Gavin," or "Justice for Gavin," and those signs were all over Ocean City and Berlin and West Ocean City. That really gained momentum. There were demonstrations with supporters holding signs. A lot of locals and visitors to the area wore bracelets with "Do it for Gavin" printed on them. They sold T-shirts and hoodies and caps, and they also asked supporters not to eat or drink at certain restaurants, and these included the Ocean Pines Yacht Club, because a man named Ralph DeAngelis, whose company has a hand in running the yacht club and other restaurants in the area, was or is reportedly dating the woman whose son, the community widely believes, hit Gavin and left the scene. Asking for a boycott on the yacht club angered most of the members of the Ocean Pines Board of Directors, and the president at that time, Doug Parks, read a statement at a board meeting saying they were hurting the yacht club's business, and if the yacht club lost money, it could increase the annual assessment fee in Ocean Pines. On the Do It for Gavin Facebook page, and also in one local newspaper, there was a commentary saying that statement made the Ocean Pines board look kind of silly because the board had already been talking about lowering the assessment. So we'll see what happens once Mallow goes to court. If he does go to court, we'll certainly follow up on this story.
I mean, this seemed really to rile up the community in a major way that we haven't seen, in other accidents.
It has riled up the community. Well, he's a young boy, and my understanding is he got out of the car to look at something. I think there was a deer's head posted somewhere, and he got out of the car to look for it, and he got hit, and he died that evening at the hospital. There's still a memorial right outside of Ocean Pines, and whoever's doing it, it's just beautiful. It has flowers and a surfboard because he was a surfer, and lights, and it's updated. It's kept very nice, and people stop there all the time and take pictures. Do It for Gavin and Justice for Gavin is still on many of the billboards and marquees up and down Coastal Highway in Ocean City and West Ocean City. So it hasn't really lost momentum, and you'll see it back in the news again and back in the talk of the community if this goes back to court.
Also, Susan, we have this referendum at Cape Henlopen High School that went down to defeat this week, sort of narrowly, I guess. It garnered nearly 46% of the vote, but obviously enough to pass.
The voters turned it down, but the vote, like you said, was fairly close, with 661 votes more not in favor than in favor. Whether more than 7,800 votes were cast, so that equals about 45% in favor. The question they voted on was whether or not to add 0.21 cents to the capital project's tax rate and 0.33 cents operating expense tax rate increase. It would have raised about $70 million for the Cape Henlopen School District and projects the school district has in mind. But in the end, more voters opposed an increase of about $155 per year per household to start, and then that amount was projected to decrease by about $40 per year in years to come. The idea was to have funding to buy a large piece of property to build a new district office, also for a 50-meter Olympic-sized swimming pool for high school students, bus maintenance, salaries for employees, and all that would have cost about $78 million. The Superintendent Fulton, has said raising the money is important because the population in that area grows, has grown, is continuing to grow as development grows, and the school enrollment continues to increase. In fact, in the past 20 years, it has jumped from 4,500 students to more than 6,500 students now. So there's a lot of growth, and unfortunately, the referendum did not pass, but I'm sure they'll come up with another one or find another way to raise money.
I mean, what's been the track record here? I mean, in terms of a referendum, I mean, a number of school districts have been successful at it.
My understanding is the Cape Henlopen in the last three, I think, referendums passed. All three of them passed. But this one, for some reason, I guess enough's enough, and that's $155 a year. A lot of people just didn't want that.
Also, we have local police departments in Delaware facing mandatory police accountability committees, provide advice on policy, training, et cetera. What do we expect them to do, and what's been the reaction to this?
By Delaware state law is now mandating police agencies in Delaware to form police accountability committees that the police are calling PACs, P-A-C-S. I talked to the Ocean View Chief Kenneth McLaughlin, and he told me each committee will be designed to provide advice on policy training and what issues affect communities. It's a result of a statewide police reform. He said it might be needed in other communities, but in Ocean View, the police department is transparent and the officers involved in the community. Members will volunteer to be on each committee, and they'll have to have about 20 hours of training. Because Ocean View is fairly small, it's partnering with three other police agencies, Dewey Beach, Fenwick Island, and South Bethany. Chief McLaughlin said all of the agencies and police chiefs share a common platform for policy. At the committee meeting, they will make sure those policies align with expectations of the community. The law requires members of the community to be on each committee, and they must include a pastor, someone from the business community, and the group must be a diverse group in age and race. The first meeting will be in late April. Dewey Beach Police Chief Constance Speaks. I talked to her for a little while about this, and she told me after the first meeting, goals will be set. She said each town involved is a little different. Dewey Beach, for example, is more of a concert-going party town in the summer, and police respond to things like alcohol-related incidents and pedestrians walking on the roadways, and thousands more people come to town in Dewey during the summer months than in a lot of the other towns, much like Ocean City. She said the Police Accountability Committee is still new, the ideas are still new for officers, and they're still learning about them, but she's looking forward to partnering with Ocean View, South Bethany, and Fenwick Island. So that meeting, I think that meeting is on April 27th. I'll be there, and I will give you more information after the meeting.
Now, I understand, by the way, in terms of like these policy things, as opposed to, say, investigating incidents, that kind of thing.
That's my understanding. It's going to be policy, how people are treated when they're pulled over, they're respectfully treated by the police, how they're treated, when they call for the police to come to their homes or to come to an incident, what the treatment is, what the conversation is. And like Chief McLaughlin said, Ocean View has no problem with that at all. There's a lot of transparency and a lot of really goodwill between the police department and the community there. But some of the other police agencies, not nationwide, statewide, might need those agencies.
So we also, by the way, have the Delaware General Assembly looking at granting counties the authority to impose a fire protection fee. I understand that in general, we got these departments. They're about 48% comes from the state and 52% come from the county. What's the situation?
This is Delaware House Bill 127. It's designed to charge each home and business a fee per year to raise funds to support the fire service. It has the strong support of Sussex County Council member Mark Schaefer, whose platform when he ran for county council 4 years ago included strongly supporting the fire service. He talks about that a lot during meetings. That's one of his pet projects, is protecting the fire service in Sussex County and statewide, as well as the Delaware Volunteer Firefighters Association. They also have given it their support. The bill was introduced by Delaware Representative Paul Bombach. He's from Newark. In April last year, it's had several sponsors and several co-sponsors, including locally Representative Jeff Hilofsky, who represents the area in Longneck near Millsboro, just east of Millsboro. Mark Schaefer told me one idea is to charge $5 per month or $60 per year to every home and business, although the exact amount, how much it would raise and how much each business would pay, depending on the size of the business versus the size of a homeowner, still has to be determined. He said a formula would have to be worked out. So none of that is certain yet. The president of the Firefighters Association, Ron O'Neill, who's also a Millsboro Town Council member, told me that the association also supports the bill. Right now it's in the Ready Committee, and it will be discussed, and if it passes, we'll give you more details.
Because one of the things I understand is that one of the complaints, I think it was the president of the Delaware Volunteer Firefighters Association, was saying that obviously the current structure is unsustainable, but that a lot of these fire departments have to kind of search around for extra funds.
That's what I understand. Mark Schaefer told me they sell fried chicken, they sell T-shirts, they sell baseball caps, and they have festivals and things like that, and they're already so busy, and there's already a shortage in most of these volunteer fire departments now. There's already a shortage of people, and the teenagers are not volunteering like they used to, so they don't really have time to have those extra activities. So this would help immensely. We don't know how much yet it would bring in, but $5 per house per business throughout Delaware would bring in quite a bit of money.
Also, finally, we have a Nanticoke Heritage Day, and there's also a new book actually coming out involving Native American language. Tell us about the day and the book.
Nanticoke Heritage Day is one of my favorite events. I love to cover Nanticoke Heritage Day and the powwow. The Nanticoke Indian Tribe hosts Nanticoke Heritage Day every year at the Indian Museum in Millsboro. This year, it will be on Saturday, May 4th, from 11 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. It's all free. There's music and dancing and demonstrations, arts and crafts for sale, and best of all, native foods like that Indian fry bread I love, Indian tacos, succotash, hot dogs, sodas, all kinds of good food. This year, interestingly, the guest speaker will be Keith Cunningham. He is an author and a linguistics expert, and he'll be talking about that new book. He helped write that new book and do the research for it. It's called Once It Has Been Spoken, It Cannot Be Unspoken. It is for sale on Amazon already. It's the first book, and the Nanticoke Chief Avery Johnson told me he has ever heard of that focuses on the native language. Keith Cunningham and others who researched and wrote the book with him put 5 years of research into it. It's geared toward children and youth, but it's also a good book for adults. He said Chief Avery told me that also, in other Nanticoke news, about $5 million in funding from the federal and state governments, plus grants and local organizations, are going to be used to upgrade the museum and the Indian Center in Millsboro. Those are both historic buildings, nationally registered historic buildings. There's a plan to add about 2,800 square feet to the museum to make the experience of being there more virtual, so visitors feel like they're immersed in the history of that museum. And that history is rich and fascinating. I love going to that museum. If you've never been there, stop by. It's just a great little place to spend the afternoon. Chief Avery told me that Nanticokes will persist to exist. We aren't going anywhere, he said. He said there are about 700 members of the tribe, and more than 2,000 people can trace their heritage back to the Nanticoke tribe. So we're looking forward to Heritage Day, especially Indian fry bread, my favorite. My favorite reason to go.
What day again is that?
May 4th, Saturday, May 4th at from 11 to 3.
Okay.
And the book will be for sale there.
We're also for sale. Well, we've been speaking with Susan Canfor. She's a reporter for Coastal Point. Appreciate you stopping by and chatting with us.
It's my pleasure, as always.
You're listening to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush.
Delmarva Today with Don Rush.